Because you got to understand something now. They said that the European would only rule for a short period of time. You see, we look at civilizations, America is falling off the hinges right at a little over 200 years. You see, so we understand that, you know, this stuff it doesn't last forever. It's going to spin itself out. You see, so it's going to spin itself out. But then again, on the other hand, it's a recess compared to how long we rule.
Yes.
You see, on that particular level, you see. And, you know, and not unless somebody wipes you out on a genocide level like the Tasmanians or the Aborigines, you still endure. Now, it might be at a certain level, but nevertheless, nothing is ever really destroyed. You see?
Sure.
We gave him a version of Pharaonic society. To this day, we can look at certain things and say that came out of Egypt. You see? That came out of Egypt. So we look at things like that. So here goes again. From the pyramids to the projects.
From pyramid to Negro.
Is a process more than it is and a recess. More than it is a failure. You see. We got texts. Even the Bible says the Son of Man will rise in the west.
Yes.
The Book of the Dead, one of the names for Osiris is Osiris Winnefer. And Osiris Winnefer means the great westerner. Amenta, the land of Amen, is in the west. The sun sets in the west.
Mm-hmm.
You see. So all this is a process for us to be in the west. Now, we go into one other part about this thing, how this transpires to us. Now, on the genetic level. On the genetic level. They say, out of Egypt I will call my son. Or out of Africa I will call my son.
Mm-hmm.
You had these Africans, some people call them tribes, some people call them nations. But they were scattered. They had broken apart and they were nations. So in order to make it a covenant, make it whole again, you got to extrapolate an African body out to another land. And then you have to come in and extrapolate several different African tribes or African cultures out. And then you have to genetically mix them back together to make the whole African. You see. Let me give you an example. So they say that they talked about it two ways. They say that they used to take these large bodies of Africans and put them in the Caribbean. Mm-hmm. And then those Africans threw off their oppressors called the Maroon Societies, and they had these revolts. So they decided, look, we're going to take them to America and break them into small lots. But it won't be one nation that can take over. It'll be different African tribes from all over Africa. And we'll break them into small lots and intermarry them or intermingle them. And so as a result, the Westerner that they're talking about, or especially the African American, represents the putting back together of all the Africans' tribes through the DNA. Because the African in this country has all of the different African tribes in its DNA. In its DNA. You know, in its DNA.
Okay.
You see. Put back together. Even the Schomburg in 2000, they said, well, you know, our story is a very unique story. Because our story as far as African Americans is not only where did we come out of Africa, but they intermix all different nations of Africa together in the DNA. You see? Because they didn't have the big lots of African that could come together and overthrow people based on big unity. So they broke them up into smaller pieces in America. And as a result, you got a new creation of the original. You got a new creation of the original. You see, so in so many words, the coming of the African to the West is actually the coming together of a new being that would be an even greater creation. Because it has all the elements of all the different Africans, and including all the different races in the world in it.
That's true.
You see. And that's that's putting back the body of Osiris. It's cut up into several pieces. But he'll be put back in the West. You see. Putting back the body of Osiris. So we saw all of this coming. We knew it was going to happen thousands of years before it happened. And we worked through hell, you see what I'm saying, to get a product together that we're really not even, we don't even know the power we hold now.
That's right.
Just by going through slavery. You see. We got texts coming from the Library of Alexandria of a group of people. They said a group of, we'll say Phoenicians. See, in that way, because if we put it back on the continent, we'll say group of Africans. And they said they took the group of Africans and put them together in a boat. But they were the greatest heroes. It's in the text, Jason of the Argonauts. He took the great heroes, they say from around Greece, but actually from around Phoenicia. Or we could say Greek because that was a black culture too. And they put the greatest ones in one boat to sail to the ends of the earth to get the golden fleece. And the golden fleece, in so many words, is the earlier version of what you would call the Christ now. So in order to make this Christ, they took the best of us, put him in a boat, sailed to the ends of the earth to get the golden fleece. You see, well, that's what happened with us. The best of us came united in the West, put back together after a separation of Osiris. You see, and the thing about it here is we just don't know what happened because we're still looking at the victim side of it. History shows you tragedy, yes. But there's a silver lining to what actually happened. It's a process. You see. And as a result, we can tell you right now, who had the resurgence? Because they talk about in the last days, in the Gospel of Thomas, which was one of the books they took out of the Bible from the Conference of Nicaea. They say in the last days, all things that were hidden will come to manifest, and knowledge will be quickened. In the last 20 years, who was the ones that brought this knowledge back? Although we had several Africans and several people from the Caribbean and stuff, but as far as the knowledge being presented, it is an American phenomenon. You see. Because Africa, you know, you got places they don't even have access to books. Even in the Caribbean. They got places they don't even have access to the libraries like this. So this phenomenon that we call the Afrocentric movement or the Black Consciousness movement, although it's made up of different people from the diaspora, the underpinning of it is an African-American phenomenon. Mm-hmm. So here again, just that alone lets you know, in all honesty, it shows the African being put back together in the West. It's a Western phenomenon. Mm-hmm. You see. Mm-hmm. So on one hand, you're looking at tragedy, you're not even noticing what just transpired within the last 20 years, 25 years. Mm-hmm. You see. Mm-hmm. Because everything has to start with ideas coming back together. Otherwise, you don't have nothing if you don't have knowledge. Mm-hmm. Know thyself. You see? And we know that phenomenon happened in the West. Mm-hmm. You see? So it's amazing. You got any questions?
Well, maybe we should call this from Pharaoh to Negro to what? A new humanity?
Pharaoh, from Pharaoh to Negro to new humanity.
Mm-hmm. Bobby, any words in closing you'd like to say to our people who are watching this?
Yeah, I think they say never look at the apparent. When you look at, like I said before, the Barack Obama thing. Now, a lot of people are getting disappointed based on the policies and things didn't transpire and stuff like that. We're not talking about that. The phenomenon, and even though they might have been sinister moves on the reason why people put him in, nevertheless, they don't know that although they put him in thinking it's one way, they don't know that they are tools of the Spirit. It's working. So they might say, this is a conspiracy. This is sinister. We're going to put this man in because we have a certain agenda. But what they don't realize is an unseen hand, Spirit's hand, that put him in for a spirit purpose, just for the psychological phenomenon of black people having something we never had before. It's just like the guy Eugene Robinson. He works for the Washington Post. He said, I could tell my daughters about black teachers, black lawyers. Every job in this country, they got something. He said, but I never could tell them about no president. He said, that's wiped out now, because we've already done that. You see, so for a psychological purpose of seeing a black man and a dark-skinned, bootylicious wife. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. She is the quintessential black woman, the one that went through the process of slavery. Because see, now the white wing Republicans are saying Barack Obama is not an African American because his mama's white and his daddy's Kenyan. Now all of a sudden they are saying, before, if you a slave, you ain't shit. But now they're saying he didn't go through the slave phenomenon, so he's not authentic. Don't matter. Michelle Obama is up in there, and her show got from the Pharaohs to the Negroes. You see what I'm saying? But my point here is this. If you were African in the 1800s or the 1600s that came over, if you were African from the 1600s or the 1500s that came over, and you met up with a slave master, and you became mulatto, what's the difference in the 1600s becoming a mulatto or becoming a mulatto in 1960?